Today, my mind was absolutely blown by the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight. For those of you who follow it, you probably know it was a terrible fight and you wish you never watched it. It was super boring. For those of you who don't, let me give you some context. Mike Tyson, you probably know who this guy is. In his heyday, he was throwing absolute slammers. His fists were furious, and he could knock out anybody. He was one of the greatest boxers and certainly one of the most well known. Jake Paul is someone who was started as a social media influencer and realized he can get a fat bag if he challenges big celebrity names. For reference, he's like 28 or 30, and Mike Tyson is 58, like literally almost twice his age, basically. He realized he can get fat stacks if he fights old people with big names. I'm not saying Mike Tyson is old. Mike Tyson, you've done great things. I'm not saying anything bad about you. I'm just saying that there's an age difference. That's it. Please don't. You beat me up. I believe you. Okay, now let's move on. This fight was advertised being a huge deal because, hey, it's Mike Tyson versus a social media personality that a lot of people are like bagging on this dude for good reason. I think the Paul brothers are generally pretty scammy, and anything they promote is probably a crypto scam. Don't do it. So here's what blew my mind. After this fight, there was $60 million that were spread out between the winner and Mike Tyson. Jake Paul did win, and that's because if you're 58, your cardio, your stamina is just going to be a lot less. The first two rounds were semi-interesting, and then the rest, Mike Tyson was just heaving, trying to get any semblance of oxygen into his system, and Jake Paul was kind of hanging out there just waiting for the fight to finish so he can get a bag. So Jake Paul, for that silly fight, got $40 million. Mike Tyson got $20 million for them to sit two sweaty men and kind of hang out in a boxing ring for a few rounds. And here's where that blew my mind. They did something that's like not that interesting, and it wasn't even good. Like they're not. Mike Tyson wasn't a fantastic boxer in his more experienced years. He is not at the same level he was before, and Jake Paul is. Sure, he seems like a good boxer. He's a fit dude, but he's not anywhere close to Mike Tyson in his heyday. And somehow they were able to get $60 million in prize money and millions for the event venue and all the other things that go in, like a huge deal for something that ended up being super lame. And the reason that this blew my mind is I knew that in some way these people were able to market or advertise, like create something interesting that actually wasn't. The fight was not good, but somehow they got so much interest, they were able to get a payout that big. And that just blew my mind that something not interesting, people got retirement for life money out of. Just crazy. So here's the lessons that I learned from watching that whole experience of a very uninteresting fight somehow give these people completely like life-altering amounts of cash. Number one is it is in general better to be controversial if you want to get known. I'm not saying that you should go be a complete idiot. If you want to get seen, you have to either be really good or controversial because news and people love to talk about dumb things. So Jake Paul doing lots of dumb things gets him lots of views and lots of maybe notoriety or at least notice, lots of eyeballs, which can then be monetized. Second thing that it taught me is you want to bag on other people who are already successful. So Jake Paul looked at Mike Tyson and said, hey, if I'm a boxer, what name is going to pull lots of views? Mike Tyson, I'm going to challenge him. So he goes a few years ago when it started and says, Mike Tyson, you're such a noodlehead. And that sounded stupid. If you hear me say noodlehead in public, I deserve to get hit. And I challenge you to a boxing match. And Mike Tyson probably only agreed because he was going to get a fat bag. Point is, Mike Tyson is a name that people are going to know. And he was able to grab Mike Tyson's authority in order to pull lots of views and have them both make a ton of money because they went with what already works. What works? It's the same as if somebody challenged Muhammad Ali. He passed away, but if you heard that name, you'd be interested. Like, what the heck, Muhammad Ali? He's fighting who? And even if you didn't know what the heck Jake Paul or the other guy was, you would know Muhammad Ali and you'd be interested. Maybe you'd get a group together and you'd watch it, or you'd at least be aware, which is already better than non-awareness. And then the third thing is that you can make anything blow up if you have enough marketing and hype, even if it's artificial, around something. So they got all of these fake, like, we're beefing. They would post on Twitter or X and all these other platforms on their training they're doing and how they're prepping all this for this fight, whatever. And then other people who knew would pick sides of the battle, saying like, oh, I think he's going to win, I think he's going to win, whatever. And they were able to get tons of people involved in to make a decision to pick a side before it started, which gave them tons of free publicity by just doing stupid stuff. By saying, hey, Jake Paul is I'm gonna beat him up. And then Jake Paul would go say, hey, Mike Tyson, he's really old fart, and I'm gonna do whatever, stupid. And then news outlets would be like, hey, these young influencers challenging Mike Tyson, and that's weird. And then it would get views, it would get notoriety. So that changed my frame on things you can do to make money. I don't think you should go challenge, like be a douchebag, and then challenge somebody in boxing to make money. I don't think that's the right approach. But the fact that it worked for him is a little unsettling. I don't know if this did anything for anyone. I was just spitballing on things that I learned because I think that you can learn from almost anyone. Even if you don't like the person, there's often lessons you can learn. And this is a perfect situation of exactly that.